Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your master of mirth and great comedy. Today it is, it's April, and April, April Fool's comedy, although pranks aren't very comedic. However, be that as it may, we're going to talk about a movie, a funny movie, a very funny movie that your humble agent saw when he was the tender age of 11 with his brother and his cousin deep in the hills of West Virginia, probably on Channel 20, WDCA, the greatest station that ever was. So it is the Road to Utopia. Having said all that, before we get too much further into it, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We love comments. And, if you could, just watch a couple minutes longer than normal. Try to make this one a short one since the movie's not that long and we've got a lot of fun stuff to get through. All right, here we go. We start with Robert Benchley, who was a commentator at the time, very popular, very funny man, and he's the narrator, humor essayist Robert Benchley, and he comes in and out here, talks to the audience several times in the movie, and unfortunately, he did not see the movie because he passed away several months before the movie was released. It was originally shot in 1943, but it wasn't released until 1946, apparently due to being in Boys Town and they didn't want him to get upstaged. It is the fourth movie in the Road To series, which has 7, and I almost had 8, but most of them starred the three actors that we'll see here momentarily. Well, Bing Hope, Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, and the lovely Dorothy Lamour. Narrated by Mr. Robert Benchley. Released date was February 27th, 1946. It runs approximately 90 minutes, and it's hilarious. We saw it late night while playing Crazy Eights and just generally having shenanigans and watching movies in the basement of my cousin's house. My cousin Todd with where his parents had exiled us because they didn't want to put up with our nonsense. But we had so much fun, even though I lost like 300 games of Crazy Eights until the last one when I finally won. I did a little superior dance and said, I'm out because your agent isn't any fool. But this is the Road to Utopia. There you go. There is Hillary Brooke and, of course, Nestor Paiva, who we've already seen in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he wields a knife in both movies. How about that? And produced by number one Paul Jones. I wonder if his army is still after Jimmy, the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant, or Handsome Jimmy. Woo! But I couldn't resist. It's directed by Hal Walker, and start out with an old couple there, Chester and Sal Hooton, and they receive a visitor. Chester's doing some research there in the Wall Street Journal. Said it's looking very bearish, dear. They get a call at 8 o'clock at night, right before they go to bed, because they're old. They're probably in their 50s at this point in time. And there it is. There is his pal Duke Johnson, who Chester was in a vaudeville act early on in the early part of the 20th century, turn of the century even. And he brings his 2 nieces with him, which leads to, in the first 5 minutes, you get, I bet, 10 double entendre jokes about those nieces and how Chester's too old. Doc says you can't have, take him away. Doc says I can't have them anymore. And then we go into the flashback where the guy gets killed by Sperry and McGurk. And because...
McGurk! Where are you, McGurk? Come on, it's getting late!
So, yes, I couldn't resist. Sperry and McGurk are not real. They're the MacGuffins here. The MacGuffin is the map that they're stealing right now. Sal, this guy tells Sal to go see Ace somebody, and which is just the worst advice. Ace Larson, that's Douglas Drimble. Drimble, he's a Canadian actor, eh? And up in Canada, up in Alaska, where the map to the gold mine is. So off they go. There's Sperry and McGurk, and I will refrain from doing any more of the Mr. Mixes Pitalik McGurk. I just love that episode. I love this movie. And Nestor is McGurk, and Robert Barat is Sperry. That's all. And so we see our swindlers, I mean conmen, I mean vaudevillains. They're entertaining the crowd who like their song and dance, but then they go and try to rip them off with money. The police are chasing Sperry and McGurk and unwittingly uncover our heroes who take it on the lam, and they're leaving. One's taken Chester, that's Bob Hope, plans to go back to New York and open a Turkish bath. And Duke, that's Bing, wants to go to Utopia and make a lot of money mining gold. And Bentley says this must be a scene they shot after I saw the picture because he doesn't recognize it. It's kind of meta, definitely. It's funny. There is some breaking of the fourth wall off and on. They do talk about stuff that, are you in this picture? We'll see that. And other funny stuff. I don't know that I'd ever seen a movie that broke the fourth wall. Now, Bugs Bunny did it all the time. That was acceptable. It was a cartoon. They weren't real. But this was just hilarious. I think this was the first time I'd seen a Bing and Bob movie. And this is where they're swiping the money from each other. Fortunately for Chester, Duke ends up with it. Of course, Chester ends up going to the Yukon, and they throw their money overboard. Now they don't have a ticket, so they're swabbing the deck. And they've got a blackguard there with a blackjack who provides a little inspiration. And here they're shoveling coal, and this guy just walks through and says, "No, I'm not in this picture. I'm on the way to stage 10," which always surprises them, even though they just Duke says, "Are you in this picture?" And he says, "No." Amateur night, and they perform another little song and dance. There's about 5 or 6 songs in the movie, very pleasant, some better than others, but you got to put up with what you got to put up with. They lose to the monkey, and they can't get off in Skagway. What a name! And there is Hillary Brooke as Kate, who's a hard as nails saloon girl. There's her boss, old Ace himself, and eventually says he just wants to get Dorothy in one of those skimpy costumes. And then he's like, "Oh, that's not a bad idea." And our heroes find the map, and then they meet Sperry and McGurk, and they have a tussle and beat them up and tie them up, and then just take over their identities and leave them on the boat. And the town is scared of them, and they know that they can't figure out how bad these guys are, but everyone's cleared off the streets. So they take off their disguises, hide they tear the map in half so that each one of them, they can trust each other. And Duke puts it in his cap, and Chester says, "What do you think about my underwear?" And he says, "Not much, but it's a good place to hide it." I've seen the movie a few times. They make friends with this Saint Bernard of sorts, which is important for later on. And then they go into the dance hall to see Sal, and they buy champagne for the house, and they're the house. I don't remember what he said, but I don't mind. There's Sal, who sings a song. Dorothy Lamour has a fabulous voice, much like Bing Crosby. And then they pass a note, and there's mistake. Each Duke and Chester each think she's after them, but Sperry, I think Sperry, I think he's Sperry, and finally got rid of him. Sal, but then of course he sings to her, and she's much more interested in Duke than she is in Chester, because he's got that voice. And guess who gets untied again? Off they go. They've been shorn of beard and clothes, which doesn't stop them from getting more clothes because they're rough and tough. So off they go. And she's trying to keep him here while the other, but they don't realize she's only stolen half the map. She swiped it from Duke from his hat, and he's so dumb. They're kind of naive when it comes to women, but they want to know where the fakers are. And off they go. And then we get another song. Put her there, pal. Put her there. And there's gold in them thar hills. Oh, look, it's Santa Claus. Now, if this movie was released in February, Santa's a little late. They tell him they're not babies, they don't want his gifts. Then they're sorry. Let's see if they're uncredited. Bartender. That's Ferdinand Munier as Santa Claus, uncredited, but it doesn't say who the girls are. They even get a speaking line. The Actors Union wasn't as strong back then. They cry about it. Then they get to Dawson City, which is this is where Ace and he's yelling at his minions about how they've blown it. That's Jack LaRue as Lebec, and they have a plan. They're going to get the other half of the map, but Kate's going to do it, and so she pitches woo at both of them, and then Sal shows up. There's the dog, and she's telling him if you don't, get the map, they're going to kill both of them. And fishing. This was one of our favorite scenes. Duke's got 14, and he says, "Can you imagine a Sal like that in any other place but Alaska?" And this is from the road one of the previous Road To movies. I want to say it's probably um, the Road to Zanzibar or Morocco. They hadn't gone anywhere else yet. There were only 3. Fish comes up and says, "Hey, buddy, where's your pal?" And right there, we have to stop because VLC player kept crashing, and I had to switch over. So the fish here has an animated mouth that says, "Hey, buddy, tell your buddy that number 15 was here." They run off, and she's still pretending to like him because she wants to get in his underwear, and that's no lie. And and he says, "Come on, folks, give us a minute." So he's talking to the audience. My brother and Todd, my cousin, thought that the fish talking was hilarious. We said that so many times that his parents were wishing that we'd gone to sleep or they'd cut the cable, but they didn't. So it's where I saw a lot of Marine Boy and Speed Racer and Kimba, WDCA. We've talked about it. So there she's singing. No, she's not singing to him, but she manages to get the map. And then there's Sperry and McGurk. They're after him again because they've hijacked or probably just stolen a dog sled. Finally, Sal tells Duke, who she thinks is Sperry or McGurk, that she's, doesn't believe he's the killer. He says, "No, my name's Johnson. We just found the map. We got lucky." And she's like, "I knew you couldn't be a killer." But off they go. This bear comes in while the boys are out cold and Sal wakes him up, and Chester realizes he's cuddling with a bear and thinking it's Sal, and he says, "We can live with your parents." The bear growls at him. This is a female bear. Husband comes in and then when they leave, he looks at the camera and says, "That's just fine. They let a fish talk and won't give me a stinking word." So once again, the 3 of us were on the floor. Well, we were already on the floor because we had sleeping bags. I don't know how long we were there, but it seems like we swapped out the couch every 3rd day. We were fair. And off they go. Guess who shows up again? It's McGurk and Sperry. They pull the old rug on him again and grab their dog sled and take off. Sperry and McGurk hijack another couple of miners' dog sled, leaving them there to die or something. Can't think too much about it. I don't remember. Oh, he's cheering them because he wants them to mush because then the movie'd be over and Hope and Crosby couldn't say any more bad jokes. And I just like this is a matte painting, of course. Now don't know where this was actually shot. Let's see if I can find that out. Production, um, Alaska. I mean, we assume it's Alaska. It says Yukon. Gosh, it doesn't say where it was shot. Filmed in. It's the only Road to film without a real place in its title. So I don't know. I mean, but there's lots. It looks like real snow. It's slushy and like here, either that they made it. They could very well have if they were up in the mountains in California. But this is obviously a matte painting. Obviously a matte painting. And they're trying to climb up and get away from Sperry and McGurk, and they actually lasso him. And they're like, here we go. But down they go, and they're about to get killed, and Chester gets the hiccups. And, sound can cause an avalanche. They tell him to think, and he says he's run out of gas. He says, think of W.C. Fields, and he lets out this huge hiccup, which we'd think would kill any normal people. And they run off, but get on. They grab Sperry and McGurk's dog sled. But they're still alive. What are these guys made of? They are tough. Probably related to Yosemite Sam, don't you think? And now they're still pretending to be Sperry and McGurk, but Ace knows who they are now. And they'll know it's the fakers when their large dog shows up, who's now under the table. And they find out he's betrayed Sal, their man, and she won't, she doesn't want the man she loves. And Chester, of course, thinks it's him. And there's dynamite in the dog's mouth. They've been threatening people. And then he faints. I mean, they clear out, everyone does in 3 seconds. And then Sperry and McGurk, they throw it in there in a room, and then they tell Sperry and McGurk that the map's in there. Kaboom! Look at that miniature, though. Lovely, lovely miniature. Shot in slow mo or in high speed, so it slows down, looks pretty real. And they're all like, well, there goes the map. But they're trying to get away. The bad guys are following, the miscreants, the malefactors. Look, Ma, no hands. And they're arguing about what they're going to do as there's a crevasse opening up beneath them. And they say, hey, are you getting shorter? And Chester's on one side with Sal, Duke's on the other side, and he's like, all right, take care of her. So go see my mom and give her my watch. He's like, this one, tell her to give you a hot foot. And then he says, I'll slow him down as long as possible. And we flash back to the present, or we flash forward to the present. He says, what'd you do? He says, I just knocked every one of them out and threw them in the crevasse. And then they say, we have children. We have one child. He's like, rang. And the look that these two give each other, and then Chester looks at the audience and says, we adopted. At age 11, I did not get that joke. I don't think my cousin at age 12 got that joke, or my brother he was still 9. None of us got that joke. We didn't even know because he's younger. They doesn't look like it. So it was funny, but now it's a lot funnier. And like, hey, you know what I forgot to do at the end here was put in my title cards. We'll just have to stop here right now. There we go. The things you forget. So that has been our episode for today. Look for some more comedy movies coming up. Got a couple in line. Maybe a couple more Disneys because they tend to be comedic as it is. But my fellow agents, until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
Look, no hands. Watch out, no teeth.
Please, my sponsor.
Yes, it's more Sacco than Morocco. It's zanier than Zanzibar and zingier than Singapore. And if you think it's cold up in them thar hills, Wait until Dorothy turns on the heat.
And what did Romeo see in Juliet? Or Pierrot in Pierrette? Or Jupiter in Juno? You know.
And do the boys find gold? Why, they're mopping it up.
I've had enough. Yeah, me too. Who do you think you're pushing around? We're not cattle, you know.
Does Bing find romance? Well, he isn't thawing out his tonsils for the exercise.
So glad you got here. I hope you can stay. But welcome to my dream anyway.
Does Bob find romance?
Some women can love any type man, but not me. I've got to have a beast of a man. Do you hear me? A beast.
Is a wolf considered a beast? Oh, I thought I was getting a little drafty. Hey!